You're on.
All right, good morning. Monday, November 13th, Dalton Borough Selectmen's meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, doesn't look like there's any public input, and we have no minutes to review. First up on our agenda is our building codes officer and inspector, Mr. Jack Parsons. And here he is. Wow.
What an announcement.
Right. Good morning.
Wow.
So it was 112 building permits, 33 new homes, and I've done 705 inspections. The pellet boiler up at the townhouse, they swapped the ash box from the left-hand side to the right side, factory settings, and hopefully it'll take care of all the issues we've had over the years. So.
How long has that been up there?
Long time.
2008, 7, 8. It's just been one nightmare after another. Replaced it with a good boiler.
I love fossil fuel.
So, me too. And then, I don't know if you did the buildings budgets yet or anything.
Not yet.
So,
Well, we've done part of it. We did the part
Alright,
of
because
it.
I put a little bit of input in there to Audrey. I don't do it all, but I did some things, and just one thing has to get added to it, but just the overseeing and that has to get put in.
Yeah, that's kind of like a building budget.
Yeah, exactly.
It's building up,
Exactly.
slowly filling in the slots. Yeah.
And did you discover what those mushrooms were up there?
Water, I think that's running down from when it was wet before, when it was rot at the top.
Right.
And finally, I know, just the heat and whatever in the sun is baking it out and growing mushrooms. So it's on this window up there, it's between the Z flashing and the head casing.
Wow.
So they
But
didn't
it's
get all
all-
the wet wood out of there? Or?
They did, but when the third floor, well, the high window was replaced before, they never fixed the rot. They just put the window in the hole. So it still leaked. So that's what rotted everything down below, and that was all repaired, and they fixed that past spring, but always there was some moisture that got trapped behind the clapboards, which will dry out. It's just,
Yeah.
it's obviously running down, but it's not leaking anymore. It's just residual moisture that's behind it. So.
Okay.
All right, anything else for Jack?
And on the wharf, is there a contract out there with
Yes.
somebody? Did they say when they're gonna start it?
I thought that they had, I asked that last week and somebody said, I wasn't listening, but they did say when they were gonna start. I don't remember.
First of the year, basically.
Oh, after the first?
Yeah, we got an email with a tentative schedule.
Cause I gotta put the bubblers in, I was just curious if I was gonna do something a little different, if they were gonna start, because of the power thing, so.
Oh, put them in,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just like you normally do.
alright,
And if they gotta move them, we're gonna move them.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Cammy, would you be kind enough to supply me with a pen?
Yeah.
I've not paid attention. I apologize to the public. All right, we're due to have our highway department update at 9:10. In the meantime, we don't have a highway department superintendent or road agent here.
Oh, in the meantime,
Oh.
the road agent, I went with Jim to Skinny Hill Road,
Oh, yes.
so he can talk about it, but
Okay.
Thanks.
Engineering.
it needs engineering for what the cutouts they dug out and all
Alright.
that, so maybe Jim will bring it up, if not, I'll come back in.
I'm just gonna make a note about that. Thank you.
Yep.
I think we have time enough to go through the signature file. There's only 3 signatures. We have a revised trail permission slip from the snowmobilers. They've actually revised it to be a 3-year approval, and they've added Sandy Knoll Road, excuse me, Langs Pond Road, as requested. So that's the only changes. Do we think a 3-year agreement is better than a 1-year agreement? I do. Saves a lot of hassle.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, it's fine with me. We're gonna sign it every year. We're gonna sign it every 3 years.
Right. Well, I'd like a motion to sign this.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's 1 signature required. I guess that would be me. Cammy will get that off to them. Now we have one from the Lakes Region Household Hazardous Product Collection Program, Summer 2024. And it says that the community of Tuftonboro has appropriated $5,560 for the purpose of a household hazardous product collection program pending approval at the 2024 town meeting. And that basically confirms what we talked about. It's a one signature.
He is coming in at 10, Dave
He's coming in
Jeffers.
at 10.
Yeah.
Would we like to wait on that one until he shows up?
I think so.
I think it's a good idea to wait.
I don't remember there ever being a warrant article.
No, it isn't. It's due to be one. To put it on the warrant. That's what this letter says. Let's talk about it with him when he comes.
Okay.
And last but not least is an intent to cut tax map 57-2-7. It's on Burley Road. The acreage of the lot is 88 acres and the acreage of the cut is 60. Anybody,
I'll move we sign it.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
I think I saw Jim.
I hope you did.
Thought I did.
Get that out of the way.
Is Burley Road a class 5 or a class 6?
What's that?
Is Burley Road a class 5 or a class 6?
5. To a point. I'm not sure what, I don't know enough about the rules and regulations right off the top of my head that I would deny a permit to cut timber on it, whether it was a 5, 6, or a 1, for
I
that
was
matter.
just wondering about repairs. You know, lots of times logging operations. Damage road.
All right, well. Would we care to move into budgets while we wait for our road agent?
Sure.
All right, let's have Sue Weeks up. We have Cemetery and Agricultural Commission.
I thought, oh no, I don't have the current paperwork, do you, from Audrey?
This kind of paperwork?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So,
Want me to make you a copy?
oh, that would be great.
Okay.
Starting with cemetery?
Yes, that's what the schedule says. We might
Here's
as well
the,
stick to it.
I don't know if you got these, apparently Audrey didn't, so. This is the work that we had done this year, the $2,000 we spend every year on gravestone repair. She gives us this beautiful report of what she did. She loves us because we actually pay her to do this work. Most times she has to volunteer to do it.
She does great work, and I'm of course very well aware of what she does, having been a trustee for 6 years and now the volunteer section. There's still more work to be done.
Right. So, we have almost the same budget as last year.
Well, for restoration, Jan, exactly the same.
Right. But for overall, the sexton, we didn't spend anything this year because Guy and I have been doing all the work for free. But Guy's not gonna be around next year, so we're gonna have to pay somebody.
And you have a candidate?
I have two candidates that a little arm twisting would work probably. assuming that they're gonna get reimbursed for their time,
Mhm.
so. Let's see. Maybe they can alternate, I don't know. Cemetery maintenance. Don't know why that's so much higher, you?
It's not.
It's not.
It's only, it's $111 lower.
28,000, 20,000. It's still high because
Well, you did that tree
Jim.
thing.
we
in
didn't get our
22.
tree work done. You know, we've had a contract for 2 years that
Mhm.
has gone unfulfilled. So we've got to start over with a new contract this year to get some tree work done. So we're behind our schedule. And cemetery improvements line is up because we want to replace the fence in the backside of the cemetery out here, or repair it. I'm not sure which will be done. And that's it.
So the 15,000, your actual for 2022 on maintenance was 28,946. The 23 budget was 15,111. Seems odd.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right to me either, but I don't remember.
Well, I've got the actuals right here, so let's take a look. Okay, maintenance, 15,111 is the budget. You spent 17,980, so you're over $2,869 for 2023. So
This chart doesn't really explain that, does it?
the chart doesn't, but the budget does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're, for all intents and purposes, you're at $18,000 this year for cemetery maintenance. I don't know how, you're gonna spend $3,000 next year?
I don't either. All I can tell you is we were working off a different chart when we came up with the number.
Okay. All right, well, some of it going into work.
We did meet with Chris Rule, who's our new mower, and this is based on his prices. Right? And the extra work with True Green and so forth is not as much this coming year as last year. I'll check into that and confirm before we finalize this, before the public hearing.
So this,
Or before the budget committee makes its final recommendation, how's that?
there we go. So the budget committee's gonna get these today, tomorrow. They meet tomorrow, they'll look at it. And then the next time they meet is the end of November, I think, or the first of December, I'm sorry. I mean, I just hate to vote on this without the selectmen
Okay, that's
budget
fine.
being correct.
Yep, I'll check on it, I'll get it fixed.
The restoration numbers stayed the same. And I'm not seeing anything spent out against restoration so far this
The
year.
restoration is 2,000 for Jessica this year.
$2,000?
Yes,
So you got 10 grand
we
left
had
over
10
there.
grand and that was the tree work
That didn't get
that
done.
didn't get done.
All right.
So, as far as this year went, monies can be moved around in that budget to cover the overage on the mowing, eh?
Oh, yeah, she's 11 grand to the good for the whole budget, there's no
Right.
problem there.
I know.
And that's
Um,
why, that's because of it.
Do we wanna? All right, so if you can get your tree work contracted before December 31st, you need to come back to us, cause maybe we can encumber,
Right.
but we can encumber after December 31st.
Okay,
And then give us an update on those numbers so we can give it to the budget committee.
So we need to, before the budget committee, right, we need the numbers before the budget.
Good. That being said, I think we could move on quickly to the agricultural commission.
okay. It's just the first line on this.
Yes.
It's not all three items. It's a weird thing. Next year, our requested budget is $2,000. We got a proposal from the community gardeners for work they needed done, which was $1,300. That, and then we estimate another $500 for mowing and removing the small trees that are out in the field out here. So, that brings us to $1,800. So we got a $200 buffer with a budget of $2,000.
Well, and you got your income.
No.
Well, we don't even know what that is.
Well, let's assume it's the same as last year.
Well, you know what happens
We
when
don't
you
know, we
assume?
don't have it. We don't have it.
It's
my
not there.
Not my understanding.
Well,
My understanding was that there was a complete inventory of how many lots were rented and how much money was collected.
yes, I
Okay.
had that number,
All right.
and then I heard another number from the office, and I have yet to see any printout or get any confirmation that there's an account that has that money in it.
Right, but it's not that you're not gonna collect money next year. That's what I was talking about.
Oh,
Let's forget about this year. That accounting is gonna go forward to enrich that account, but next year in April or whenever you start renting lots, you're gonna start getting revenue.
right,
So one would assume that the revenue would probably be pretty comparable to what you got this year.
right,
So if Jackie's got a list and how much each plot gets charged, you got an estimate.
of our income.
Right.
Well, I thought it was about $1,300 this year, that's my recollection, but I've heard other numbers, so.
Right, so it could be different.
Could
It's
be
not like you're
different.
sitting, the point I'm trying to make is that you're not gonna sit there with $200 in the budget. It's 200 plus whatever you're collecting.
There's a difference between the budget and the revolving fund.
Right.
So $2,000 is the budget
Right.
that they would like to have approved. The revolving fund has nothing to do with the budget.
Right.
So I make a
Well,
motion
it
that
does
we,
have something to do with the budget, but if you wanna make a motion for the $2,000, I'll second it.
all right, I'll make a motion that we approve the agricultural commission budget at $2,000.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Susan.
To be continued.
I'm
Right.
sure we have some fence projects to do.
Now I'd like to back up in our schedule and have our road agent come up and give his report. I would just say to Jim, early is on time and on time is late.
He was here on time.
I have a text that says to be here at 9:10.
Yes.
I was here at 9:10.
He was.
I was told to be here at 9:10.
I
But
saw
Sue was
9:11
up-
on the clock over
9.
there.
I was in the parking lot at 9:09.
Anyway, give us a report.
All right.
I'm sure you've been busy. I know you've been busy. I've seen the work being done.
We're not doing the highway project today, right?
No,
No,
this is
thank you. Thank you.
This is for next year.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got some numbers for next year.
Oh, good.
I'm guessing we need them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start with some of the stuff that we've worked on and since last time. The catch basin at the transfer station was repaired. Once we removed the pavement around it and realized that the barrel block that was being used as a partial riser was giving way under the heavy loads when the CD trucks removed the CD containers. Where we removed the old barrel blocks and concrete riser that was too short, installed a new one, a taller one, and it's an H20 heavy duty riser, and we paved around it. That one's 6 inches thick and it's all reinforced with rebar. I hope that we can put that problem away forever.
Good, thank you.
Yep. We repaired 7 areas on road edges that had structural problems underneath the roads that caused the pavement to break up, fall out when being plowed. These areas needed to be excavated down 3 to 4 feet to remove the unsuitable material under the road to prevent further damage from occurring. Once the gravel was installed, compacted, we had GSM paving come and install new hot top over it. I had a local builder look at the town garage to give a price on the new addition needed to fit the 10-wheel plow trucks. Hoping to get that price back this week. And some of the dirt roads have been graded and leaves blown off. We had to repair a head wall on the entrance to Zadida Farms Road. It was damaged by an equipment trailer that cut the corner too sharply when exiting, caused the wall to collapse.
Whose equipment trailer?
I believe it was a paver contractor up in there.
Were they contacted about the repair?
Not that I'm aware of.
Should they be?
We could. I don't know that we're going to get anything from it, but we certainly could mention it to them.
You got a rough idea what it costs to fix that?
I can figure it out. Yeah.
It's just, what I would like to know is that, I mean, going a legal route and trying to get somebody to do it might cost us more money than it's worth if it's a very small amount, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was a half-day project.
Okay, that'll be good enough for mine.
And I met with Allstate Paving to review pricing for next year. He also said we should be graveling the road edges by the end of the week. So we have the pricing, and I don't know, I got a couple extra roads put in there so that we have options if we needed to, because I'm guessing we can't afford to do all of this. And I did actually get a quote, so for Tufton Neck to put the top coat on next year if we want to do that as well. We can subtract that part out if we just want to let it sit over for a year, but if we want to do the whole road, get that finished out, we have that number. It's $314,533. If we want to grind up the first 4,000 feet, put down base coat, and then put a top coat on the whole 8,000 feet. Or we could just do the base coat as well. That would save us $150,000.
So the 314 would finish Tufton Neck Road.
Correct. Which would be nice to get that one put away. And then Shirley Way and Woodland Drive, to put the top coat on that, we are looking at a total of $106,478. And then on Chandler, if we want to do Chandler, this is obviously up to you guys, because I think we're already over we usually have what, 100,000 for the paving, for neighborhood paving, so we're already kind of over, we're just putting the top coat on. but I gave some more options. And if we want to reclaim and pave a base coat in on Chandler, we're looking at $46,501. Or option two, if we want to just do a drag shim over it and then pave 1.5 inches over that, we're looking at $26,000, which would save, $20,000 if we just shim it and pave it.
That's not reclaiming the road.
No, it wouldn't be reclaiming it. It does have some big splits in it,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's, the base is real structurally bad like some of the other roads we've had. It's certainly, nothing like Pine Mill Drive or anything like that. That one, we do need to reclaim. And I did get a price on Pine Mill as well, and that one's $166,000 to reclaim that one.
The Shirley Way, that ends the Shirley Way project. Is that what I'm thinking? $106,000.
Correct, yep.
Then that's all done.
Except unless, we've had people come in and ask about doing the Chandler section of it, which is the entrance to get to Shirley Way. Which is nowhere near as bad as some of the other roads that we have in town.
Chip, can I ask you to total up?
I did.
Where did you come up with a number?
Okay, if we take the Tufton Neck Road to Shirley Way Road. No. If we start at Shirley Way, add in Chandler, and add in, so that's off of that. So it's actually $153,000 for Shirley Way and Chandler Road. That's the 46.5 and the 106.4. I mean, I'm gonna suggest that the 314,533 for Tufton Ronac is, we need to do that.
We do, and I also,
I'm on board with that, but in my scratching here, I added up all the totals,
Yeah.
okay? That's the number I'd like to have you check.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All of them, every single one of them with your calculator, please.
Well, option one or option two on Chandler. You don't use both of those numbers.
correct, you would either reclaim it
Assume
or
option,
do the
assume
drag
option
shim.
one.
I did the total, and I want to know the total. Because I'm going to speak towards the warrant article after that.
I also have to remind you guys that doesn't include any road prep before this.
Right.
Because we still need to do road prep to
Exactly.
Tufton Borough Neck.
And you wanna add Pine Mill Road as
I
well?
want the whole thing, because I've got something to say.
I can get that for you. Okay, if you go with option one on Chandler Road,
No, I want the total. Where it
No,
says
it's not-
We
total.
can't do both.
we're gonna do one or the other. And I'm gonna suggest that doing a scratch coat on the top is just a waste of money.
I
Because we
agree.
haven't reclaimed the road.
Well, what I did was I added up the totals, including both options,
Yeah.
and they come up with 556,880. Now, when I looked at the warrant articles from last year, if we add $50,000 to the main paving, and we add $50,000 to neighborhood, those two together total up to $700,000,
Right,
which means we should be able to do
yeah, and if you do,
everything on here.
right, and if you do Tufton Road Neck, Shirley Way, option one at Chandler Road,
Hmm?
and Pine Mill Road, I'm coming up with $634,000.
There you go.
So,
So if we add 50,000 to each, the neighborhood and the ad, as suggested by the Lakes Region Planning Commission, to get us up to speed, we still have some money left over for some preparation and everything. It starts to sound like this is not out of the question to do these roads, to me.
That sounds great.
right.
And of course, we have yet to do a warrant article, but this is looking pretty good, I think. We may eventually actually catch up with things and be able to do a scheduled maintenance on these things without getting carried away.
That would be nice.
Pine Mill Drive, not Pine Mill Road. Just,
Yep.
Well, we don't have a Pine Mill Road, so. It's good. Wow. I could be overly optimistic, but I'm surprised that this is as low as it is.
Yeah, 634, 280.
Right.
Cool.
Very nice. Be interesting to see what the cost comes in to extend the highway garage. That'd be good.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Let us know through Audrey or whatever. If we
Okay.
get a number, that'd be great to know. It needs it, as we know.
Yeah, because there's a couple other things we need to look at. Like seal coating this out here. There's some cracks going on this driveway. At some point in time, you're gonna have to address it. I don't know if there's anything up at the transfer station that needs looking after.
So, that's probably a good question to bring up right now. We usually do some crack sealing this time of year.
Yeah.
We were having a lot of trouble with the old crack sealer last year. We were talking about getting a new one possibly, which I wanna say I found a price of $3,500. But it kinda never happened once we had the damage on December 23rd. We were hoping to have some money left over in our budget last year. But then we had $75,000 worth of damage happen in December. We didn't move forward on that. Now we're way over budget. Do we hold off on crack sealing, or do we still try to proceed on some of that?
I say we hold off.
But your machine that does the crack sealing is not functioning right, is that what you're saying?
It isn't, it's
So we'd
taken
have to
forever.
buy a
to heat up.
$3,500 piece of equipment in order to do any crack seal.
And still pay to go out there and,
Correct. Yeah, it's gonna be, it would be 7,500 more out of the budget easily.
excuse me, I don't see us in a position to do that this year.
Yeah, that's why we haven't started, so. But I thought I'd bring it to your attention to see how you felt.
I'm not sure that, we don't seem to have the money for it this year, but I don't see how we can wait too long to start addressing it.
So technically, when you do crack sealing, and I took a class on this, you should always address your best roads first. If you don't want to be small. When you get to a certain size, crack sealing is kind of a waste of money. So it's really to prevent your best roads from tearing. If you already have 1 million cracks in a road, that's a waste of money to put crack sealing down. And if the gap gets too big, it works for a certain point, but it's still gonna expand.
Well, I mean, but then again, I mean, how much money did you spend on those repairs you just mentioned? Like a hand cemetery and on Sodom Road.
So we're billed up to date except for that paving,
Oh,
which I'm hoping that I'm gonna have to ask Audrey for a price, but I think we have money left over from our paving budget that I can use for that.
okay,
But that was like $25,000 worth of paving.
right.
Yeah.
So would crack sealing been a better palliative going forward? Not, at this point, you couldn't, you had to repair it.
Yeah,
Had
we believe
you,
that's
had you sealed it earlier in the game, would that have been a benefit?
It wouldn't have, only because underneath the pavement, it had structural problems, and we pulled up, big rocks, we pulled up a lot of clay, things that just made it soft. And, crack sealing won't help the base, it just won't work. And we were plowing it, it was getting caught and just kept ripping further and further along, and we had to do something with that before it became the whole road.
How about Sandy Knoll on Road? What's going on up there?
So, the code officer Jack and I did look at it, and we felt that, it probably needs a little engineering work to be done to prevent the silt from going over to the neighbor's property.
Mhm.
I'm not an engineer, but it means something like a settling pond, or what we call them rain gardens, might be necessary. We need to catch the sediment, and I think that's, and we did have a very bad year as far as rain. If we didn't have that bad year, it wouldn't have been as, I think the damage would have occurred, to be honest with you.
So all the water that's going onto his property, is it the water that's causing the problem, or the sediment that's being dragged along with it, or both?
Well, I think it's a little of both, and it's a large gap, you know, between his property and the road. It's not the immediate property right there. His property sits over quite a distance. I don't know the number of feet, but I'm guessing it's a couple hundred feet anyways. But it's made its way over there, according to the pictures that he sent us. So I think it's, if we had the rain garden set up or something of that sort, engineer can decide how that works. That's not on us. They might disperse it more evenly and keep the sediment where it belongs. And hopefully we don't keep getting these 100-year rainstorms 3 times a year.
So do you wanna contact the property, well, you need to contact the property owner and tell him that we'll make sure there's an engineer, he's gonna have to pay for the engineer.
Correct.
But then you can have Cammy get all the Bergeron to go out there.
Or he could probably use his own engineering. I don't think it has to be our engineer firm.
Yeah,
No, it does have to be,
It does.
yeah.
it's our road.
It's our road, so he has to pay the price for our engineering, that's how it works. I mean, you can hire anyone with an engineering degree to go out there, he's a friend of yours and tell you to put a 4-inch culvert in. We really need it engineered so that, I mean, 20 years from now, if there's half a dozen houses up there, they're gonna do the same thing that they did over on Willand Road and decide they wanna be a class 5 road. You don't wanna rebuild the whole thing.
That would be a major undertaking. Okay, so tell him he needs some engineering plans from
Right,
our
and when
engineer.
we can arrange the engineer to go up there, he just has to. And it actually has to happen. It isn't like he's got an option if he doesn't wanna live up there anymore.
Okay,
When you sign off, when you sign it,
I will let him know. I don't even know who it is, to be honest with you, so
Yeah,
it's not something that I'm familiar with.
Jack does.
Jack does.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he will help you.
So if it's just a couple loads of gravel on a class 6 road, that's just between you and the landowner. When it comes to engineering a drainage program, has to come through the selectmen and they have to tell you this. is
Yep,
what you
that makes
need to do.
sense. And that originally was what they talked about, was putting down some gravel. That's all I was told about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like size and culverts and all the rest of that stuff is really important.
Yeah, I don't think there's any culverts under that road at the moment.
The water just runs on down the hill.
Correct. It runs down the hill. It's always run down the road.
Maybe all but an inch.
So it's always kind of just run down the road and caused a lot of washing.
Thank you.
But now he's cut some diverters just to go out.
Mhm.
And he did put, you know, he cut them down, I don't know, he probably excavated about a foot deep to get the water off the road. And he did set up some, hay bales, you know, to catch the silt, yeah. But obviously when we had the overwhelming rain this summer, it overtook that area.
And I think it's more likely than not that we'll have overwhelming rains again. So
Chance is good.
it seems to be getting better.
All right, anything else for Jim?
Yeah, when it comes time to do this, we're gonna be putting paving out to bid this year.
Yeah, we did get pricing last year too.
I know.
Yep. Yeah, so this is just a preliminary number, these really aren't,
To come up with a budget.
yeah, correct.
Okay.
And I didn't see the point of getting a bunch of numbers at this point until we
No, that's
have
fine.
something, you know, more solid to.
Just asking the question.
Yep.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Good.
All set? Appreciate it, Jim.
Good.
Thank
Oh,
you.
wait, you have a question?
yeah, I just wanna let you guys know that I think we have a problem on Mirror Lake Road, Lane Pond Road again, because of the beaver dams. We've breached those dams twice. And the level is at the highest I've seen it for a while, so I just wanted to let Jim know that, I
I
don't know
did
if
see
he's
that.
aware of that, but the water's probably only about 6 inches below Lane Pond Road. So, while you're here, I figured I'd mention it to you, Jim.
Okay, and I think it's because the outlet end is blocked up.
It is 3 dams, and we've broken them twice.
Yeah.
Is that all?
It's like, it could be a daily thing.
It
Yes.
could be, absolutely.
I remember 77 trips through there, and it was then in 2008 to get that somewhat taken care of.
Would you guys like me to start trying to dismantle those dams to get the water out?
I think we have to.
Probably a good idea, if we want to keep Lang Pond Road.
Yeah.
I think we need to, get rid of some beavers too.
I will put them on the list down there as well.
Eviction notice, give them an eviction
I
notice.
will let them know.
I'm
Great.
gonna recommend again that,
The
you
beaver
can, yeah,
deceivers.
the beaver deceiver guy, Skip Lyle out of Vermont, he's worked all over the nation to put in beavers, and I have experience putting in, at least 6 with him, and it's a long-term solution, compared to,
They go under the dam, so.
they go through it, yeah, so.
Yeah, basically you're just putting pipes together that go out, extend into the pond so that they can block that all up.
Right.
The water still goes through those 4-inch or 6-inch pipes, but there's multiple of them.
It
You
can
tried
be
one
multiple
before.
or not, and he does have like kind of a patented method, so I appreciate you saying basically, but it is building a whole trap and how he keeps it down and secures it in the water, because I worked with him, literally worked with him on a huge dam.
And do you have
Milford.
an idea what the cost was?
Let's see, that was probably 4 to 5 years ago, and it was just over 2,000 to put in a fairly large dam. So it's not
It's something we could probably
outrageous.
look into. I can come back to you with the information.
Please.
Yes, well, I mean,
Because, yeah, unfortunately the beavers keep coming.
Yeah, they're not gonna stop, so,
Right.
but we have to live with them.
Yep.
Had a moose in my field the
We
other
have to
day.
manage them.
They're coming too.
you're making me hungry.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
okay, Jimmy, thank you. Now I have Steve Scapicchio sitting here, but I don't know why.
Budget.
Well, we don't have any budget package for the Conservation Commission.
I know, because
It was mislabeled, you know.
did I lose it?
I have no idea. I did send it to you, yes.
I've got other conservation.
Right, what we had was other conservation, not the Conservation Commission on our schedule. Even though it's
No, you have
wrong.
both.
So now,
Don't you have both?
are we, our right hand and left hand don't seem to be communicating
No,
well.
I couldn't find this Friday for the life of me, and
Come on up, Steve, what the hell, you ready?
Steve left it
Here.
here.
Might as well get into it.
Okay,
Oh, I see the bottom line is down.
Yes.
I always like to see a bottom line is down.
which one, are you looking at other?
No, we're looking at 4611 that Audrey just handed to us.
I don't do other.
Somehow Agricultural Commission is in other conservation and I don't know why. And if somebody tells me, well, that's how the state wants it, then the state can basically apply their lips to my backside. I hate them.
Well, I think it's because of the lack of activity.
That might be.
If the activity goes up, then you need to create a separate budget for
I
agriculture.
think it's gonna go up.
So I've heard,
All right, Steve,
So it's essentially the same. The only two changes were that we, like last year I came, we asked for the $2,000 for the timber stand improvement, and what we said was that if it required additional work, we'd go with a warrant article because it would be extensive over multiple years. After doing what we did this year, we determined that it wasn't worth it. There was no value in spending additional money on the timber stand improvements. We did what we could, and hopefully that'll encourage the good trees to grow. So we dropped the $2,000. On the same token, we increased the amount for the administrative assistant based on the breakage we had this year. In the year before, we didn't have that big of an amount, but now that we have an administrative assistant and basically determining her rate times what she feels her hourly month would be, that increased by the $2,000 over last year. And those are the only two differences in the budget that we had.
For a net decrease of $300
Yep.
from last year.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to accept this budget for $22,600.
I'll second, it's a fine-looking budget.
Can we have a discussion?
Of
Of course, I seconded it for
Uh,
discussion.
On the Great Meadow Trail, you're $400 over budget this year on that.
I am?
Yep.
I thought I was pretty close to where I was supposed to be.
And I thought when last we spoke, you said that was almost done.
For this year, yeah, for what we had projected for this year.
Okay, so there's another $3,000 getting spent next year on
Yep,
that?
we have a little bit more work to do, a lot of bit more work to do,
Okay,
to complete the loop trail back. And then we're also building a trail out onto the new Lion property.
okay.
That was gonna be a continuation of what we have there now.
All right. And that was the only question I had.
All right, the motion was made, seconded, discussed, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Now, before you leave, I have a report from the homeowner of the small 2-acre plot that was the Lion property
Yep.
of hikers showing up in his backyard, especially with unleashed dogs. And does the loop trail go that close? Because why are they doing it? He seems to think after walking it, there were some flags put up that may misdirect them somehow by accident. I'm not sure, I haven't walked it myself. Can you shed any light on that?
So we haven't, that loop trail that goes out and around there is
Right.
not,
It's not complete.
not complete, it's not even open yet, but I am aware of one day that I was out there, one of the people that was walking the dog, he told me that his dog went off and it did show up in that neighbor's yard.
Yep.
But that's the only report I've heard of something like
Okay.
that happen.
Well,
But that did happen, and
Yep.
I guess, I don't know how we're gonna stop that. The way that easement is written is it's open to the public, where regardless of whether there's a trail there or not.
It might come down to enforcing, excuse me.
A leash law.
A leash law.
Yep, I mean, we can post it that dogs need to be on a leash.
I think that'd be a fine idea, and it may indeed solve the problem, but it was brought to me.
Yeah.
And,
I'm aware, Steve Wingate and I happened to be out there. I was there, Steve wasn't there yet when the guy came out and said his dog took off in the woods.
mhm.
And then when we were walking down, he was coming out and said he got a call from the neighbor down the street saying this dog showed up in his yard.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that's the time that he was talking about.
Well, I don't know that.
But yeah, but I'm aware of that one time guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'll report back,
Yeah.
that you're aware of it, and
And
efforts will be made to curb such behavior.
so we'll post it that dogs must be on leash.
So it's only the town's property that's in conservation,
Yes,
none of
Yes.
the neighbors' property?
none of the neighbors' properties, yep, the town, well, pretty much that whole section now is town property, from transfer station, actually all the way down to where the Fish and Game own, except that 1 acre lot that, what's their face owns there too, that we didn't buy.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve.
I thank you.
See you at the meeting.
Yep. A week.
Yes. All right, next up on our busy schedule, planning board budget. Wish I could find it.
Planning board budget? Way back.
Yeah, I got it now. Stuff in between in my folder, which I probably should.
I cleaned up and it was just a heat request.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning, friendly planning board.
Looks like a very modest budget.
anytime there's a bottom line decrease, I like it.
So the Lakes Region Planning Commission went up.
It did go up, and last year when we did the budget, I had called them ahead of time, and then after I got the figure from them, they went ahead and increased it even more, so there's no guarantee, that's all it is. They could raise it again.
And that's a budget for you guys.
Well, they can't raise it again after January 1st, because we annually budget, and then everybody that's in that Lakes Region Planning annually budgets, so when are we supposed to?
Yeah, I don't know when they increased it, but it was like $150 or something.
Right. And you've used the administrative assistant more, or plan to use the administrative assistant more? We've only spent $9,000 this year out of the 14,600.
And we had a very slow 4 or 5 months.
Oh, our first half of the year was slow,
Yeah.
but this second half of the year is very, very busy. And I suspect right now we see it busy continuing for the next few months anyway.
And your consultant, how's that working out for you?
Excellent. The consultant, you can see we dropped the fee to 4,000 because we have, now we have the visibility of being fairly busy with her, of what her billings are. We haven't had our fourth quarter yet, but it's going to be slightly under the 4 mark, to be right around that. So the idea here was, I think if you look at your attorney fees, or our attorney fees, that they're really low this year. And the beauty of her is she's answered a lot of questions for us at, half the price. So it works out very well that way, without bothering him, which is difficult. Her, she's readily available, so it's working out very good for us. So I see more savings than you see here,
Where is the legal line for planning?
That's under a different
Bottom.
budget.
It's under our legal budget.
Yeah.
Each one except for the agricultural commission is broken out.
It kept popping up in our budget as
No, that was engineering.
engineering fees or something, but we just had it corrected.
Yeah, the engineering fees, that's done through, that's when we request someone to review something, that goes to Jack Widmer.
Right.
So that's a totally separate account. So I don't know why it was popping up on our budget.
So you got 20 grand in your legal budget. We've already gone through that. I think that budget's already been debated at the budget committee.
Right. I think so too.
Okay, look it up, I guess. I'll tell you what you got.
It has been approved.
Yeah.
I think it was reduced.
Yeah, $10,000.
Yeah, they haven't actually approved it yet according to their agenda, but they will tomorrow night. They take weeks to think about some of the
Oh,
budgets.
okay, it went down to 10 grand.
Ken?
Right,
Yeah.
no problems.
Yep.
Good. I'd make a motion to approve the budget for the planning board at the proposed amount of $29,633.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on this? Chip, I know you want to say something.
I heard them talking about
Well,
it.
so advertisement is,
Yeah.
and there is a line item, but because of the timing of when you have to get a deadline into Granite State News and the timing of our meetings, it doesn't work within the RSA requirement of a 10-day plus day of meeting, 10 days send out notice. So it's very hard for us to advertise in the Granite State News.
Okay.
So we made a motion
We
to
changed our
stop
rules,
advertising.
We changed our rules of procedure, we advertise on the front page of the town website when we have a public hearing,
And
I
that-
put,
that complies with the state.
Yes.
yes, I checked with New Hampshire Municipal on that.
Does that mean that the
So-
budget request for $1,000 doesn't need to be
I
there?
don't think it needs to be there.
So we could reduce the bottom line by $1,000, is that what you're telling
Yeah,
me?
think
what-
it-
do you agree with that?
Yeah, we went through our consultant on that, we went to the RSA, and I think we talked to New Hampshire Municipal on that
Yeah,
also.
we did.
So we comply, no town needs to advertise now as long as they comply where they post it,
I posted it.
and on the
post
town
office,
hall
The
website,
library,
so.
yeah.
I'll withdraw my second.
I withdraw my initial motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve this budget for $28,733. That will leave $100 on the advertisement line.
Okay.
And just keep the line open because.
Because now, well, actually now what we do is instead, because of the whole timing thing, and we didn't know whether we'd get it in time to get it published within the specified period of time, we're having the applicants submit a check that pays directly to Salmon Press.
Right, yeah.
So that takes care of that. I mean,
We
the
have
other,
to do it.
yeah, the other thing is, and I had some emails with Jack Widmer, but advertising has to be done in a separate budget that it's not under the general fund or whatever it's called. So it shouldn't even be on this budget. It should go into Jack Widmer's, but he said this is not how they do it, but I said to the RSA and he just never answered me.
I'll second your motion for discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't remember ever having a discussion with Jack that we can't have advertising in our regular operating budget, but I'm sure that'll come up.
Yeah, I mean, but
Audrey's busy taking notes over here, so I'm sure she'll.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure
you
it
bring
comes
it
up.
the fact that we're now having the checks made directly to Salmon Press just gets rid of that whole
Yeah,
problem.
it cleans it up.
Yeah,
The only time we find it to potentially be a real controversy in something coming along, we'll go to the paper, but we'll do it that way. They'll write the check
to the
to the
paper,
Granite State News,
yeah.
all right, and we'll just pass it that way.
Yeah.
Keep it out of our budget.
all right, so the motion was made to reduce the advertisement line to $100, I presume as a placeholder,
Right.
and that would bring the total to $28,733. It was seconded for discussion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks. You did a great job.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Great day.
Don't slack off, too.
I'll bring the calculator out.
Oh, no. Next up, we have the ZBA budget.
Okay,
So
we'll
the
do 20.
CBA secretary told me that they don't usually come, but I think she's still here if you want to speak with her.
It's a pretty non-spectacular budget. I see a $200 increase for public notices and a $50 increase for postage. Everything else seems to be level funded. So that's a total increase from last year's $4,400 to $4,650. And most of this is in and out budget anyways. So I would,
And if you're looking at the total, because planning and ZBA are all in one section here, and I'm coming up with a grand total of $33,383, so it's actually a reduction from last year.
I'd move that we accept and approve the proposed 2024 budget of $4,650.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Wow, good, do that. Now, Dave Jeffers from Lakes Region Planning Commission should be here at 10 or in like 30 seconds or so. I don't know.
And Audrey gave us some approved budgets, the ambulance,
Right.
fire and rescue, emergency management. Do we need to vote on those again, Audrey? Do those totals change?
No, they're just for your folder.
Here we have Dave Jeffers from the Lakes Officers and Planning Commission.
Okay,
Here to talk about household hazardous waste.
okay, thank you for taking the time and meeting with me. Just wanted to update you on where things were at with HHW, both in terms of the collection that we had this year, the collections that we had this year, and primarily next year's collections. We've had some discussion in the past about the possibility of Tufton Borough serving as a collection site. We did end up having the collection on Columbus Day weekend, the Saturday of Columbus Day weekend, over in Tamworth at the Brett School. There were a lot of unknowns. It was something different for us. And we ended up, it was a rainy day, cold, not super cold, but, and it was almost all volunteers that were working there. We ended up with 179 households, which for a collection site in this part of the region was pretty good. And turnout from Tufton Borough at that collection was lower than we'd hoped it would be. A lot of the folks who came out were obviously from Tamworth, and also Freedom, had a good turnout. Tamworth, by hosting the site and with some good promotion from their new coordinators, they about doubled what they normally have in terms of participation, by being a host site, which is what we typically find is that participation from host sites does go up a good deal, or is high, higher than others. It's just a matter of convenience. Looking at, I realize I did have a conversation just yesterday with Chris Rule, and I realized there are some staffing changes and that sort of thing that are anticipated that might color whether Tufton Borough serves as a site, collection site next year. We will be doing it in the fall, or have one collection in the fall that's going to be held in this part of the area, and we're moving forward with having discussions with Tamworth about returning to the Brett School site. But I just wanted to follow up with you on that, just where the collection was, how it worked out, and provide opportunity for, if we're gonna have closure here, great, have closure. If we're gonna continue the conversation, great. And then also I included information about next year's collection and our change in format and change in appropriations, this increase in appropriations this year. See if there are questions or things that I might be able to have a discussion.
Well, I support hazardous collections. If we don't see the, and I'm speaking for myself, I don't want to speak for the other two, but I don't think that if we get an agreement or a recommendation from from Chris, solid waste director, if he doesn't think that he should have it at his facility, then we have to support him.
Sure. I don't want to force it on anyone. As I said, when we did it in Tamworth, we it was a very simple setup. We had myself and another staff member were there, and we had 8 people total. And except for myself and our other staff members, it was all volunteer, it was 6 volunteers. Most of them were from Tamworth. You know, and whether, and I think, you know, and another factor in posting it in Tufton Borough would be, as we've said, would be the idea of doing it on on a weekday, a Friday, something like that, because we recognize it's, the transfer station is already open on Saturday, and I'm not gonna change that. And the numbers from our survey do indicate that there is a willingness for some people and an ability for some people to attend a weekday collection. But, you know, if the town doesn't want to do that, or isn't ready to do that, that's okay. We're exploring those other options. I just wanted to provide opportunity for that discussion.
All right, so we have a letter here for signature that would commit the town of Tufton Borough to $5,560 for the purpose of a household hazardous waste product collection program pending approval at 2024 town meeting, which says to me that we need to do a warrant article to collect that kind of money. And this is from a sample letter submitted by LRPC.
Yep.
This does not commit us to actually hosting,
No.
as I
no.
read it.
We sent this to all 25 communities that, and we do this each year. Then this is asking for, this is for our collection and for the purposes of, we ask for this commitment letter because by January we need to be, we submit a application to New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for A, permission to host this, and B, it does, our grant application enables some funding to come that helps cover not the disposal costs, but the outreach and that sort of thing, and the management, administration of this. And a willing, we just signed a contract, a multi-year contract with our vendor with the anticipation for a set amount of funds for that. And most communities put that in as part of their budget. I'm not gonna say this is how it needs to, how it works into your, the town's budgeting process, but whether they include it in the transfer station budget or the conservation commission budget or what have you.
Right.
So it normally goes in there. This is an increase. We haven't increased the prices in 5 years. It's been the same, and the arrangement that we made with the vendor is continuing with the same vendor, but that after 5 years and with the inflation and that sort of thing, and some, as this letter points out, there have been some issues associated with the solid waste industry and the hazardous waste industry that have led to this jump in prices, that, and then we split that price, and you can see from the contract, from the appropriations grid, we take the sum total and we split it up between our 25 communities that have indicated that they're interested in participating, and it's based on the number of housing units in the community.
And Yeah, the science and accounting is fine, really good. We do actually have a line item for Lakes Region Hazardous Waste
Yep.
in our budget.
Okay.
So pending approval at town meeting basically means pending approval of the budget,
Yeah,
not a separate
Exactly.
warrant article, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah. Next year's collection, instead of having two collection dates,
Mhm.
there will be 4 collection dates, one in June, one in July, one in August, and one in September. The Belmont and Franklin will be in June, Guilford and Meredith in July, Moultonborough and Bristol in August, and Laconia and probably Tamworth in September.
Well, the numbers certainly show that Moultonborough is the most popular place for Tuftonborough residents to
It
go.
has been.
It only makes sense, when you think about it. It's
Well,
the closest.
yeah, I mean, we have had it over in Ossipee in the past, and there's been some participation. Tuftonborough's usually had, in the number varies because it's open to, they can go to whichever site is most convenient, whichever date is most convenient. I mean, this year there were some who went over to Meredith, a few who went over to Meredith, a few who went to Tamworth, but yes, the bulk went to Moultonborough.
What is that, $5,500, how does that directly affect our residents? $5,500 that you're asking for.
Well, there are about 2,400 people in town, so it's about $2 per household.
And is there a fee when they drop off?
No,
hazardous
there's no
waste?
fee.
Well, it's $2 a household, but it's $241 per drop off. And that's how it works out. You got 23 people that have participated in the program for
Yep.
Tuftonborough.
Yep.
Divide the 5560 by that, it's $241.
The number,
Gilmanton, on the other hand, is $111 per participant, and Ospreys $289 per participant.
Yep.
I'm wondering how this, Bristol's 81.
a lot of it, Bristol is a collection site, so
Yeah.
they do it's most convenient for them. As I said, those that are collection sites, host collections, yes, the things that impact most is how convenient it is and how much outreach there is. And, our coordinators, the people who do outreach locally, tend to be either with the Department of Public Works or the transfer station or conservation commissions, or a combination of them. The more folks you can get out, the better it is in terms of value for the town. In 23 we had a 5-year low for Tuftonborough at 22 during the pandemic. We've had as many as 37 turnout in the last 5 years.
So you're basing your ask on population?
Housing units. Number of housing units.
So we're 3.86% of the housing units in this district.
Of the 25 communities,
Right.
yes.
But some of them aren't listed on the front page. I can't find Northfield anywhere.
If you look at the very bottom down here, it says Northfield
Oh.
1, on the
Northfield,
front page,
Yeah.
very bottom. It's in tiny print.
Oh,
Northfield has not participated in a couple of the collections, but they have indicated that they're looking to, that their residents have indicated that they'd like to resume some participation in this.
Oh, I would think so, they're paying 4667. How can that be? What's the population in Northfield? I guess that was my question.
I
Oh, we
don't-
do, total housing units, what?
That's housing units, yeah.
So 2006. So Tuftonboro has more houses than Northfield?
Yeah, they tend to be much more of a year-round community.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's worth the money, but I guess we gotta do something with it.
That's valid, you know, up to 10 gallons per household, and there's no fee, there's no cost for individuals.
But none of this $144,000 gets sent to the facility that's the recipient. It's all your volunteers and
The
stuff.
$140,000 is for the disposal,
Okay,
the disposal costs. We did put in some funding, $4,000 we're giving stipends to the host communities to help them cover like the
Labor.
cost of a dumpster or
Yeah.
something like that. And that's new this year for the collection sites. But yeah, that $140,000 covers waste disposal costs.
What do you do for advertising when it's disposal time? How do you promote
We do
participation?
newspapers, Facebook page, we do printing do some printing of flyers and brochures. We have done banners, big 4 by 6 foot banners in the past, and some signage for collection sites. But we've had, they're put up a banner at the transfer station, and we do, we send press releases out to some radio stations, and address a lot of questions from people. And those are the sorts of things that we've been doing. We do have a person who, like a year or so ago, he went out and visited a dozen different transfer stations and spent a Saturday handing out materials and that sort of thing.
I mean, household hazardous waste collection, I think, is a good thing. We all need it, but I think the biggest thing you could do for us is promote participation. Because
Yep.
the more people that participate, the lower the
Yep.
average cost is.
Yep.
And short of hosting it in town, I think that'd be the way to get the best participation.
Yep.
But if we can't support you there, we have to get people to go to the places that
Yeah.
have it.
Sure.
We're gonna depend on you
Yeah.
to get the word out.
And we recognize that, especially this year where we're having some changes, it's not changing the whole program, but with new sites, new dates, there's going to be a need for extra promotion, so we'll be doing that to get that word out. Our budget for promotion has remained, is still the same as it was when I started here 20 years ago, based on the DES grant. But we have been able to supplement that somewhat with a USDA grant that helps with some of the promotion stuff and education. So that's
give you a heads up. And as I said, some communities have found that having having a couple of local coordinators, you know, if certainly we will do as much local as we can. We're looking at the region as a whole, but you know, we've got these 30 communities, or 25 communities that participate, and part of what we do is management. You know, we negotiate this contract, multi-year contract, where the price does remain, it's a fixed price contract. Prior to this, and in many places, how much you get charged depends on how many people show up and what they bring in, and there are a lot more variables. We're able to say, okay, in the fall, this is what you owe. And there's not pre-registration. There's some places where people have to sign up and tell what they're gonna bring. They have to sign up, and our vendor would like us to explore that. We've said, at this point in time, we don't really think that that's something that people want to be doing.
Well, yeah, because if nobody shows up, then you pay the money for nothing.
Right.
I would disagree with that. To quote former Selectman Lloyd Wood, I think we have to think on a more global basis than just Tuftonboro when it comes to the environment and hazardous wastes. What this basically amounts to is Dave has basically flooded my mind with information. But what it comes down to, in my opinion, is do I, as chairman, sign this letter of commitment to the Lakes Region Planning Commission and the Hazardous Waste Program for $5,560, which is an increase in our line item in our transfer station from $4,300 to $556,000. And I would make a motion that the chairman be allowed to sign this letter of commitment and move on with our meeting.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Dave, thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
I'm going to sign this letter
Yeah,
right now.
thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Okay. We all set?
Thank you. Yes, we are. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the discussion.
Next up on our list is a quick bathroom call by me. We'll speak to Chris Fournier from HEB Engineering. Things.
I guess you're driving away there, Chris. While he's in the men's room, I'm gonna give this back. Could you just double check that? It seems like this is too much money. Because of my dental insurance, I was looking at that.
You realize it's for 2 quarters?
Was it for 2 quarters?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't get paid the other time.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for your correction.
Bob comes back, we'll get back to him. Nature calls. And it also destroys roads and other things.
Sure does.
Boy,
While we're waiting, I have one observation on the hazardous waste.
Mhm.
I believe it occurred Columbus Day weekend, which I think is not a good weekend with all your summer residents closing up cottages and their homes and having family up for a foliage weekend.
And it's the same weekend that the townwide yard sale is too.
So that was not a good one this year, so I think it would be,
Well, for the people closing up, it's a great time to get rid of the stuff. For the people having folks up for the fairs and all that, maybe not as good. But that's out of our purview, that belongs to Lakes Region Hazardous Waste. Feel free to contact them with your observations and
I will,
opinions.
didn't want
Thought
the
you had it.
I didn't want the conversation to go too far.
I can agree. The horse is pretty well dead. All right, we can reconvene the meeting.
Sorry, I am on the clock.
All right, we've got Chris Pointing from HEB Engineers to give us a lot more detailed explanation of what needs to be done on Canyon Valley Road.
Sure, yeah, so I'm interested in knowing the specifics of what we exactly want to talk about today, but the town does have 4 hazard mitigation grant program applications still pending with FEMA. Okay, first for Canyon Road culvert, Union Wharf Road culvert, some drainage on Curtis Road, as well as several locations of drainage improvements on Sodom Road. And the purpose of that funding is just to prevent future natural hazards, so flooding. I mean, these are all flooding-based locations.
May I?
Yep.
This $850,000 more or less, is that all encompassing of these 4 projects, or is that any one project in
No, yeah,
particular?
that's just Canaan Road in general. So
Okay,
the estimates that have been put out there are basically the best information that we have at the time for what you're requesting from FEMA for funding. So these programs are 90% funding and 10% town share.
Right.
So of that roughly 850,000, that would account for $85,000 in return of the town, if you so choose to move forward with the project. At this time, the application is still pending, so FEMA hasn't made any judgments on obligating the funds to the town. They have, along the way, requested some additional information. This whole process started over a year ago when the town submitted their first letter of intent and then their first application, December 2022. So this is rather slow going as far as.
Well, the wheels of government are slow.
So who goes first? I mean, do we have to say, yeah, we wanna do it, and then they approve the money, or do they approve the money and then we say, okay, we'll do it?
Sure, you're not there yet. So basically, a bunch of municipalities in New Hampshire submitted to the state, New Hampshire Homeland Security Emergency Management. They filtered through the applications, made sure eligibility was good, and you passed the test on those 4. So they recommended those projects be funded by FEMA. Now FEMA gets a crack at it, and they're asking, they've asked some questions about 2 of the projects, and then we've answered those on behalf of the town. Okay, and then right now it's just waiting for FEMA to say yes or no.
And will that happen before January 1st? Or
Okay,
middle,
sure.
middle of January?
Oh, yeah. Unknown.
I mean, we can't put it on the warrant unless we know it's true.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, you're reading my mind. I like the way you do that, but if we were to put on a warrant article, I'm gonna say for $85,000, we'll call it a rough 10%. Can we put that on there pending approval by FEMA for the rest of the money? How do you do that? It's so uncertain at the moment that
It is. Yeah.
I don't
Right.
understand how we could possibly do anything without knowing that we get it. It's like really tough.
Right.
It's been in limbo for a long time, and
It seems like a huge amount of money for, I'm not sure where the project starts and stops exactly.
sure. Okay. Yeah, it was. I don't have the full application with me, but there is a stream. Basically, the 2 culvert projects, Canyon Road and Union Wharf, are stream crossings.
Okay,
I think that's an unnamed brook there, though. I'm not
Probably.
sure it's, but I think part of the original question was, why is it so expensive versus, like Ledge Hill Road or Road Neck Road? And I think stream crossings are expensive. They need to be permitted with New Hampshire DES, wetlands, and comply with stream crossing rules and guidelines.
oh, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
like no impact engineering that has to be done to get across the street, and you have to, it's gonna be big, you can't just do
Correct,
it,
so it's
yeah.
quite a big increase in what
Okay.
it stands to be today,
Yeah.
and beyond the fact that it's washed out, you know, which is
Mhm.
nice. And then beyond that, you know, it is federal funds, so there are federal regulations that are tied to that. But FEMA coming through with a 90% share, this was a one-time 90% share, typically this program is 75%. So the town is in an extremely good position as far as improving these pieces of infrastructure at a fairly low, you know,
Right.
low share.
Right.
Well, the thing comes to my mind is if we cannot put a warrant article on, not knowing that we're gonna get it, or not, then July they say, oh, you've got it, is there gonna be a time frame that we have to move that money, because we can't do it again until
Sure.
town meeting again? It's kind of a,
Yeah,
Well,
I can speak to
Can we,
schedule.
can we set up a revolving account and ask the voters to put money in it as
Well,
all
we
encompassing?
could do it in the form of the account that we have the $5,000 in
oh, contingency.
contingency. So if we put $100,000 into contingency, it solves two problems. First of all, you don't put this on for $85,000 on the warrant, you put it on for $385,000, $850,000.
Mhm.
That's how the warrant article would
Right,
have
it
to
has to be the
read.
gross,
And then, you know, you're getting some of it
Right.
back in the form of the grant. If we put it into contingency, we can spend out of the contingency for that, and then the grant money just comes in to pay the expense of it.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, if I could speak to schedule a little bit, that might be it. So, once you get to obligation, which means you're free to move on with the project, and
Right.
FEMA has awarded you the grant, you have 3 years to execute the project.
Okay, that's
Okay,
not
so
bad.
construction projects do take a while, permitting
Oh, sure.
takes a long time, but 3 years is a reasonable time frame to get this done, and they do offer extensions, that has happened. So you do have the ability to not necessarily raise it all immediately and kind of, you know, expend or raise as you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen capital reserve funds also
Right.
utilized for large culvert / bridge projects or roadway. And then the expenditures, typically it's a reimbursement process anyway. So it's not as if year one, you know, the full 850 is gonna be
Right.
spent. It's gonna be leading up to, and the largest amount will be at the end when it comes to construction.
Mm.
And those are definitely the largest things, and that could be, you know, 3 seasons from now.
Sure, that helps. Not knowing that that we're totally over a barrel when we do it, that's good.
Yeah, no, you're still
And
very.
are all of those projects gonna be approved or not approved in the same timeframe?
We hope so. It's really odd that FEMA has kind of asked deeper questions only about 2 of your projects, and 2 they haven't asked a thing about.
Right.
So my hope is that they're applying the answers that, you know, we've provided for the first 2 to your second 2, and then that
Right.
solves that problem. But they may come back and ask more questions about, you know, the 2 remaining projects. But yeah, you're in this situation with, this was about a $10 million round of funding, and your grants total over $2 million. So the town of Tuftonboro has,
Nice.
you know, a large portion of the available funds, and at this much higher
Right.
percentage. There's another round of funding open right now, but again, they've backed it back down, so the 75% is a much smaller pool this time around as well.
That answers my questions so far.
Yeah, and you'll get back to us, I'm sure, as soon as anything happens on this.
Yeah, I think the selectmen
Right.
get the emails straight from New Hampshire Homeland Security. They're sort of our facilitator to FEMA. They're in fact the applicant, and the town is a sub-applicant.
Okay.
So the money comes from FEMA to Homeland Security to the town. So once a decision is made, Homeland Security will notify you, and if it's an award, then those will mean that agreements need to be signed between the town and the state to just say, yes, we'll execute the project, you know, we want to move forward or not.
Right.
So you're still not obligated to move forward.
And we've got another, this morning we were presented with a problem of drainage up on Sandy Mill Road. And it's a class 6 road. So the road agent feels that it needs some engineering before the homeowner who's building up there can do the work on the road.
Okay.
But initially it had just been, I want to put a couple loads of gravel in and make the road smoother, but it's turned into water washing into somebody else's property. I don't know whose property it's going on to.
Without mentioning names,
It's a neighboring property,
it's a neighboring property.
yeah.
So you may be contacted to
Right,
work with that, but
Jump in.
we insist that the homeowner use our engineering firm and pay for this project himself, because it's a class 6 road, and we need to have somebody that we work with and are confident in, which would be H.E. Bergeron.
Okay.
and Bergeron will actually bill us, I think.
That may be,
Because I don't think he wants to chase the homeowner around.
that wouldn't be the best thing for him, would it?
Yeah,
Yeah, in instances like that, where, yeah, we prefer to work for the town.
Of course.
Sometimes an escrow account is set up so that the homeowner, puts money in an escrow account and the town pays through that escrow account.
well, we have the ability to lien, so it's
Either way, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
it's easier for us.
Beautiful.
And then, yeah, I mean, I think there might have been some sticker shock on the amounts on here.
Yes.
So part of it is also the way that granting works is these end up being fixed amounts. So we have to anticipate what construction costs may be in
Right.
2 or 3 years when the project actually comes around, right?
Right.
So some of that is built, there's some contingency built in for, inflation for when these projects actually do get, built. Whereas sometimes, we would prepare cost estimates for like, here's what it would cost if it was built today, and then allow you to guess at inflation. But the way that the FEMA grants are is if you ask for this amount, that's pretty much it.
We don't necessarily have to spend it all either. I mean, if the
Correct.
project came in at 700,000, then we pay 70 grand. The feds would
Correct,
pay-
we just don't like to ever work in the reverse.
Right. Right,
So
absolutely.
sort of trying to hedge for that as best we can, on the best interest of the town.
Availability of contractors in any aspect at this point in time is questionable. How
It is,
soon
yeah.
can anyone get there, if they get there at all within the proper time frame? That's a tough game, but I understand that you gotta give us some wiggle room there, you gotta try to anticipate as best as you can, like everybody else.
The other thing, I mean, it's a big enough project so that it actually will attract somebody,
Let's hope.
as opposed to,
Yeah, bidding climate is definitely a lot different. We're seeing 1 or 2 bidders on projects,
Yeah.
maybe 3 if we get lucky. So it is there's not a whole lot of competition, but there's a lot of work.
right.
Great, I feel much better. I hope my brother selectmen do. Any other questions or comments for Chris?
No, I'm happy.
I thank you for coming in.
All right, yeah.
Keep up the good work for the
Okay.
town, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, our next appointment isn't due until 11 a.m. We've completed the signature files. There are no action items and no correspondence.
Thanks, Chris.
There's no correspondence.
No. I believe we could at least possibly get our town administrators' updates in before the next appointment at 11. Why don't we? Oh,
I was gonna do a spreadsheet over the weekend, but I'm just stuck to my guns about not working weekends.
huh. I think you violated that when you answered my phone message.
And I was on a holiday, so.
Thank you.
So what those are is the new house. The spreadsheet is probably the most important. And I should have my copy in front of me. insurance is going up by 15%, which is lower than some places, but it's still significant. I did ask Health Trust for some other plans. What happens in the other plans is that the doctors and benefits and labs are not in this area. The employees would have to go to Concord, potentially go to Concord, or Rochester or Dover for their medical coverage.
The plan that we have now,
They can pretty much choose anyone in this area. I'm relatively new to the area, and I don't really use medical unless it's an emergency, so I don't know the labs and doctors. But I reached out to a couple employees and said, you know, if you had to go to Dover, would that be a big deal? And people don't like to change their doctors and labs and.
right, so,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking, I mean, everybody has
Yeah.
everybody's comfortable with what they have around here, and you're saying that the plan that we have now is changing?
No,
What
but.
do you
But
say?
you wanted me to look to see how I could decrease costs. So if we went to the next plan down, which is the one in purple, I guess I'll call it, the third one over, because we have Access Blue New England. Then the town's annual cost would be approximately $23,000 less. I wasn't here when you looked at health insurance. It's part of the personnel policy. The town is very generous in their health coverage, paying 100% for employees. It's not unrealistic for employees to pay 10%.
Well, we did go through that last year, and we agreed to let everybody that was on board stay with what they have, but any new employees would be paying 15% of their premium
So
going forward.
right, I understand that. Without getting all the employees angry with me. It's not unusual to have changes to existing employees, and you have long-term employees. And when you look at your whole benefit package, if an employee could work here or in a neighboring town, and they have to pay 15% versus 10%, that might sway them to a neighboring town. So I think.
So what is the current, I guess that's the only thing that I'm missing here. What's the current rate of travel here for a single, two-person or family? Do you have that in front of you?
I do. Oh, I did, I just calculated on it.
So this is what we currently have.
I thought I printed out multiples. Come on, Audrey.
You want me to make some copies?
Please. Please. So, currently you have 7 people on single, you have 3 people on the 2-person, and you have 6 people on family. And right now, the town pays $321,000 per year. The new rates for the current plan will be yeah, 363,000 per year. It'd be closer to 364 when I round up, so,
42 grand.
Backing up just a little, I
Yeah.
did check with New Hampshire Municipal and the state about the feasibility of having different rates for different people or doing something retroactive. We're free to do as we please, basically. So that's why we decided to leave our current employees where they were, and then moving forward, start to initiate 15% pay. So you know.
And which one are we on?
you're on the first one, AB 15. And the next one would be the ABS 20.
ABSOS 24.
Yeah. So, if you were to go with that, the employees would have to be more careful where they got their coverage. And it would be,
What do you mean where they got their coverage?
so if they just went to their normal lab here, it might not be in that plan. They might have to go to a lab in
Concord,
Rochester.
Rochester, do it.
Right,
I don't want to do that.
so that would save the town $23,000 if you went to that next plan down.
1128, so still up. So we've got a $42,000 increase year to year. And I mean, if you, I guess guys, busy, not being
Well, so just keep talking.
older. So if you were to make everybody a 15% contributor to the insurance, that would be $54,450 against the $363.
15% is high
15 is high.
for an employee to
I just heard
contribute, yeah.
15 when the
No,
conversation was
that-
looking.
That's what new people are going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
10%'s not unreasonable.
so that's 36,000.
Yeah, the board could decide 5%, to share some of the increase. And coming from private industry, that was always something that would sway. What are the health rates gonna be, and the
These are monthly
companies share them.
costs,
Right, those are monthly costs.
so
The other thing the town does that I'm not familiar with or have seen before is the $750 that you give each employee that they can use
right, that's the,
Voya,
for you.
It's the HRA,
yep.
health reimbursement account.
reimbursement account, because we increased the deductibles, I think is how it works.
So that's 12,000. Do you do it for every family member or just the employee?
Well, it's for each employee,
Depends on the
maybe-
policy they got.
So if
Yeah.
you have a two-person policy, you get 1,500?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
No?
That's what Kathy used to get, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So,
how much is the total in that account, or in that
I don't know.
transaction?
I believe I just saw an email this morning that came through. So that may be something that you wanna do away with, instead of asking employees to pick up.
Well, I think we need to, before we can vote on doing away with something, we need to see how much of an impact it actually made. So if they put $1,500 into a health savings account or health reimbursement account, how much of that $1,500 got used?
Yeah, that's gonna vary every year, right? But I think most
Probably.
people, like, I'm gonna get eyeglass frames, people are gonna try to use it.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, one thing that comes to my mind is that the amount of employees is gonna get reduced by 1 in January. And a replacement doesn't seem to be on the horizon according to our transfer station superintendent. He seemed to think he could do all right with what's going on. That would lower by $21,500 and some odd dollars the amount of health insurance we're paying. For example, from our 2023 personnel administration sheet, and another $1,500. Hard to say. But the other plans that we're coming to don't seem like they'd be palatable to our employees at all. They wouldn't to me. I wouldn't want to have to drive to Rochester to have blood drawn
no,
when I could have it right at Moltenboro Family Medicine. I mean, that's just crazy. And everything's, trying to get away from an increases, or at least reduce the impact, is tough, because none of these plans, other than the one we have, seems truly palatable to the employees, in my opinion. But hard things. 15% increase is big, but I'm sure everyone is going to get this kind of. I mean, nothing's going down. That's the worst of it. It's all going up, and it always does, as we know.
right.
This is a hidden thing that's in the budget, so when, for example, the library presents their budget, they're not including this, they're not seeing it, because we do have library people on here.
Right.
This is what we get. It's under personnel administration. I have it from.
From last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, from this year, 2023.
Right,
And
I'm
but
already in
this,
2024.
right, but this, none of this stuff is included in any of the budgets.
Right,
And it's not necessarily hidden, but it's not broken out like this so the taxpayers see it,
right.
which I've always disagreed with. Much to my chagrin.
Right, because a significant part of it looks like it's the library. That was just a quick glance. That's super helpful, because I didn't know that existed, so
Police is much bigger.
I can find it and recreate
Fire
it
is,
for this year.
fire is the hugest one of all.
So I'll recreate that for 2023.
Let's see what happens there. I'm
I
gonna
don't,
tell you.
I
Yeah.
can't, I don't know. It's
Okay.
fast.
I don't think we should be giving reasons for our employees to look elsewhere for employment.
I don't either.
And having a huge impact on our insurance and benefits could likely do just that. I think we took steps last year to look at the future, and I realize we can't do much about what we have now without having a large impact on the employees. So my humble opinion is I'd just like to see it stay where it is, and unfortunately we're going to have to absorb an increase.
Well, I agree with your opinion. You want to make that a motion sometime?
Well, I'll be presenting the health
Yeah, I don't know. if
All
I'm
right.
ready
budget
yet.
later,
We'll let.
but
we'll let-
I do have to by Friday commit to health trust that we're gonna stay with the same plan.
By Friday, which we're not
Friday.
meeting again until 2 weeks from now.
So yeah, I have to let them know Friday if we're gonna stay with the same plan. I don't know if it requires a motion or not.
I'll make a motion if you want it. That, I'll make a motion that, for the next fiscal insurance year, that we stay with the same plan that we have. I'm not discussing payment, we can.
I wanna make your motion the one that we can live with. So you wanna move that we're gonna stay with health trust for the next year? Cause we may change the elements of the plan,
No, I'm saying not change the elements of the plan.
okay?
And absorb the 15% cost through taxes. Basically.
It's an unfortunate cost of doing business.
No, I appreciate that, yeah, we're always gonna spend it. Okay, so I'll second the motion that you made.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
So we'll need to know when you come back to really talk about this number. How many
I'll come out and
people
get
are
'em.
actually gonna be getting the insurance? What this health savings account, HHRA or whatever it is, amounts to?
Yeah, 'cause that's,
And how that, where that's reflected in the operating budget, whether it's all added onto the same line or what it is.
right, because the HRA is something that the town provides, that's not part of the insurance policy, so
Right,
we do have some control over that.
right. And we may wanna not eliminate it, but we may wanna alter it.
Right.
This at least allows us to, we know where we're going.
Right.
Yeah, good. What else have you got for us?
I am out on Wednesday and Thursday at the NHMA conference in Manchester. And let's see, I came in Friday, it took about 4 hours to catch up on budget, getting ready for the budget meeting tomorrow night. And because there wasn't a quorum at the last meeting, I would anticipate probably 8:30 tomorrow night. You're gonna have a long meeting, lots of budgets.
That's fine.
Okay.
And on that note, I have had a conversation with Chris Sawyer, our budget committee member, who's doing the minutes at the moment. She'd like to know,
I've been doing the minutes.
she says she has. Never mind.
She doesn't wanna do it anymore?
She
She wasn't at the last meeting.
wants to know if she could be the budget committee secretary and get paid as well as being the budget committee member.
No,
That's what I'm thinking is no,
yeah,
but I thought I'd bring that up.
can't run for election and not give yourself a job,
Right.
or I'd be out there mowing lawns.
Oh, are you kidding me? You have to fight me out. And I think I could do a better job for less money sometimes.
Well,
That's
not
neither here nor
point,
there.
is it?
Bob is left. All right.
Is there anything that,
Oh, yes. I spoke to Cammy about our phone system, which you actually got back to me about. There is no prompt on that system that says, after the tone, leave a message. And people are saying, we can't leave a message. Cammy says she's gonna get in touch with the phone company and see if they can add a prompt that tells them that you can indeed leave a phone message. And I tried an experiment with you, and you got back to me on Sunday, so you were working on Sunday, if only for a minute.
and there are a few things maybe we should combine in that, because the transcription of the phone messages leaves a huge amount to be desired. I don't know if it's worth it. I realize it's a new system the town went with. But you might want to compare the Go to Connect software, because I had them go to my email through Consolidated and I didn't have the problems. And maybe that's why I get a lot of empty messages. People don't
People
leave.
don't realize that they can
Yeah.
actually leave a message because it
Right.
doesn't tell them so.
Right.
And that's been such a common way of doing things for so many years, that people expect that. So I'm hoping that our staff can get that
Yes,
straightened
I'll
out,
get with you, Cammy, and we'll
work with that.
we'll group.
People will really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and effort. All right, well, we're due to have a non-public session at 11 a.m., but I don't see our non-public man.
Yes,
here.
I said I would go get him.
Oh, okay. That sounds great. As soon as he gets here, we'll make a motion.
You wanna do it, cause he's here?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
it's time.
and then I'll shut you off. Did you make the motion?
No,
Okay.
he's not here.
Yes, he is.
Well, I don't, well, then he's Casper the Ghost, because he's not
Well,
showing up.
because it's a non-public, so
Where is it now? Go get.
he's out waiting in the,
See, who knew you could have so much fun?
All right, so you wanna make that motion?
I'm going to make the motion that we go into non-public per RSA 91-A:3, comma, Roman numeral 2, parentheses, D.
Second.
By Guy?
Murray, aye.
I'll be aye.
All right, now we can shut the door.
You're on.
All right. Selectmen's updates is next on our agenda.
Jesus, I'm getting worn out here. So we went to the, I went to the CIP meeting,
Yes, we did.
and my fellow selectmen were there as well. I think we're, the chairman was upset that the selectmen hadn't presented anything to them. I countered with my upsetness that all of the departments had come to the CIP before bothering to tell the selectmen about what they were gonna ask for. So it's got a little contentious, but at the end of the day, what CIP would like to have for consideration so that they can finish their chart are the projects that the selectmen are intending to bring forward or hoping to bring forward for 2024. So,
I guess that's where our discussion begins.
yeah, I have kind of my list, although I'm going to turn it away by now. There it is. Did I do it wrong? At any rate, I think we talked to the road agent this morning who appears to have come up with a number on the paving.
Right, which is, that's a warrant article, not a CIP, am I correct?
Right, well, they're gonna include that on their CIP
Okay.
thing, they include all of the warrant
That
articles,
would be,
all the capital expenses. So, we have the paving, we have, my list included a $50,000 capital reserve for the police department cruiser,
I have that on mine,
$100,000 for a capital reserve for engine 4,
I have that,
$350,000 for our solar project.
that's the new one, and now we have more information to
Right.
be able to kind of base it on.
Right. I had $85,000 for the 10% of the Cannon Valley Road project,
Mhm.
but I don't think
We're not ready?
we're ready to do that. And it sounds as if from HEB that there's a lot more engineering that has to go into it on the head end before you hire a contractor to
Right.
do the actual work. So I almost see that as a 2025 warrant article.
Which we could present to them as a 2025. It can change, I mean, this thing, this projection changes all the time,
We can present it to who?
the CIP. Because,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they want everything to have a complete package, not just 2024, was my understanding.
Really?
Yes,
Maybe that is.
if you look at the CIP report, there are things,
I only, I saw all of the, millions of dollars worth of pieces that all of the little departments want.
mhm.
I'm not certain they are gonna get anything from us other than what we want in 2024. They've got a spreadsheet for the rest of it. All right, did you wanna do the paving percentages out? We may decide in
No,
2025 to push that number up a little
the
higher.
paving is usually a year-to-year thing that happens.
Right.
It's not a projection, it's going to happen. Unless we have a total disaster and nothing happens and, volcanic eruption or something, I don't
Not
know.
to pave.
Right.
What about Lake Road?
And once again, as I said at the meeting, I think we need to see how the pier works out before we put
Absolutely.
Lake Road out there. And we ought to
If we have good results from a
spend
good,
some time looking for some grant money for that as well, because
Well, what about engineering? Do we need to do any engineering in 2024 for that?
no, because Tyler did.
it's already been done.
He's done estimated engineering on
Yeah.
that, so he hasn't got a finalized design together, but I think we can. do that.
And the idea of letting the wharf project tell us more, give us, more information, a better idea of what can be accomplished and how easily and how thoroughly and how it works. Because we might decide that this goes so well that we do want to move forward, but we won't know until it's done, and it's not going to get even started till 2024, so it's a little hard yet.
Do we need to start squirreling away money for the Tuftonboro Neck Bridge?
Um,
We're looking for state for that, right?
Yeah, and it's usually an 80-20 split,
Right.
and we don't have any idea what it would cost, so.
Okay.
You know, we've got the $225,000 that the road agent wants to put into his building, to expand his building.
Not to guess at the moment, he just told us he had a contractor looking at it, but he didn't have a price yet, so.
Well, do we want to wait until he gets, obviously we'd wait until he gets his price before we put a warrant article.
Yes.
But we're now talking about.
You can throw an educated
Until
guess.
CIP.
It's just a budget estimate at this
Yeah,
point.
Yeah,
there was an additional $50,000 or $75,000 for the loader account. at the
Right.
Transfer station.
but I think we
That's
did away with that big loader, or they did at the
Okay.
meeting, and moved some money into backhoe or maintenance
Right.
for that. Which is, I was looking at myself, I had added $50,000 to that
Right.
particular budget. And contingency was one that I thought we should definitely boost. $5,000 is pocket change.
Yeah, and I think there's appetite by the budget committee to do that as well.
Yeah, I was thinking of boosting that to 50, because we can find things to use it on, there's never a problem there. We're more than that over on budget on highways already, so.
Well, we had a rainy June, that's.
Right.
Yeah, or an engine like we had with the fire truck.
Right,
He's taken that out of his operating budget.
Right.
That's really a extraordinary event.
and I'm gonna go on the record, since we're talking with your update. I think we should put everything that the CIP committee has recommended for 2024 on the warrant and our own, and let the taxpayers decide. The reason I say that is that on multiple occasions, CIP committee chairman has questioned the validity or the need even to have a CIP committee, since the selectmen don't follow their recommendations anyway. If the selectmen followed their recommendations and the townspeople voted for all of it or none of it, or anything in between, it may or may not settle her issues. And that's just my opinion, but if the taxpayers, or I shouldn't say that, if the voters think it's worth maybe doubling the tax rate to get all this accomplished, then they would, but the people need to be involved always. I personally don't think that I'm the right person to make a lot of these decisions, that's why we have a board. But if it goes before the voters, they're the ones who could say yay or nay. They need to be made aware of what would happen. I think they would figure it out when they saw another half a dozen or 8 more warrant articles than usual. And that's just my thoughts on that. And we'll discuss that more, obviously.
All right.
And we are gonna have a warrant article, but it's not gonna, I'm pretty sure, but it won't be a CIP, but this revolving account for the transfer station can be discussed later on. That we take the revenues they bring in and leave them in an account that they can spend, which is perfectly legal. However, we could cap that at an amount. We don't necessarily have to take all of it. And it might
All
help.
right, well, you've had your opportunity to talk about warrants. I'm gonna have my opportunity to tell you
Mhm.
and you, non-elected officials having control over money and expenses that we don't review
Right,
is a bad idea.
okay.
It was a bad idea with the Conservation Commission when we fought to make sure they only got a certain portion of the land transfer tax,
Right,
the land use change tax. I'm personally not happy with the way the Parks and Rec is managing their accounts. I'm sure Agricultural Committee will do a wonderful job managing their account. But to enable employees to just spend money based on their income at the transfer station, I think is just asking for trouble.
well, again, I mentioned that we could limit the amount, okay, which we did with the land use change tax there, right? And it doesn't, it could be small, it doesn't have to be huge. You know, $10,000 or $20,000 might just allow them to do some repairs very easily without having to. I won't say it'll eliminate the maintenance budget, but if they're not allowed to keep any more than a certain amount in there at any time, we can have control over that. It doesn't have to be huge, but sometimes I think it'd just be so much more convenient and easier to get something done when it needs to be done quickly.
And I don't think that he suggests that, Selectman Pike is suggesting that we give full control over to the employees. I think it would still have to come before us to be able to spend that money.
And yes, that can be very clearly stated in the warrant article, but it can be done quickly. So I'm gonna say they have $20,000 in that account, they need to spend 10 on something. The transfer station superintendent comes and says, this broke, I have $10,000 bid to fix it, can I do it? And we say yes or no.
But that would be our decision.
Right, not theirs.
I'd be interesting to see if that actually would happen, but it's the way that you normally work now, or should work, is that the department goes to the treasurer and asks for permission to spend money.
Vouchers, yes.
So, and the treasurer controls those accounts, we don't control them actually.
The wording should be with the selectmen approval. This recreation account here is the first one I've seen run like that. And I'm trying to get more of a handle on it because it is very unusual how that runs.
Yeah, and I don't see a cash control system going in place at the transfer station anytime soon. If the money's not leaving the house up there, I don't see that is a workable solution.
Well, one iteration of an article does say that furthermore, the town treasurer shall have custody of all monies in the revolving fund and shall pay out the same only upon order of the governing body, which is us. So we would have, if we use this particular wording, total control over it.
Yeah, technically the governing body is the voters, not us.
Well,
And I wonder if it's referring to the language.
you can't very well go to the governing body in July and say, can we fix this?
No, I'm saying it may be referring to the original language
Oh,
that established it.
yeah.
And that could be easily cleared up in a warrant or specified in a warrant article where the voter is the governing body, so that, as you suggest,
Authorizes us
to do it.
And it doesn't have to be $100,000. Like we can keep it at a minimum at any point in time, not to exceed. But I think having a little bit of that would be a good idea. And I don't think that has to be a CIP recommendation. Something to mull over. Anything else on your update?
I'm done.
Wow.
All right, I don't suppose Dennis is here, is he?
Could be.
Huh?
He could be.
This, I'm gonna spend some time on the Parks and Rec bill that we got from Wolfboro.
Mhm.
And Dennis is here, I think that he might like to be part of this discussion. Let's see if he's here first.
Probably doesn't have
You might know.
there's a budget meeting tomorrow
Yes.
at 6:30.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be a long one.
I kind of feel that.
I plan to attend.
I'll bring a pillow.
As to me.
He was here.
Okay. All right, as you know, we got a bill from the town of Wolfboro for $16,661 for Parks and Rec services over the last year. And they gave us some numbers of attendance over the course of a year. And our Parks and Rec chairperson took these numbers and actually did the math and figured out what the difference would be if we didn't have this agreement with the town of Wolfboro, and she came out with $13,598.50. So we've got $13,598.50 worth of, I'll call it services from the town of Wolfboro, and we're paying $16,661. This number will vary from year to year, but it seems like we are fixed on that 16,000 and change. It's been suggested by Dennis and other members of the Parks and Rec Committee that we terminate that agreement with Wolfboro. And Dennis wants to take the money that we pay the town of Wolfboro and manage that himself and take care of Tufton Borough residents. So I asked Audrey last week. Jackie had some input too. She did some searching through the, you all did some searching, and couldn't come up with a town warrant. Because I had thought that maybe if this had been a decision that was made by the voter at a town meeting, however many years ago, that the selectmen don't have the authority to change that without going in front of the voter again. But this is something that Dennis wants to do. He wants to eliminate that agreement and give the control over the town of Tufton Borough and manage it. I'm prepared to listen to his argument. I want to, before I decide, before I make a judgment, I want to know how he plans to proceed. I want to see a plan. But that's the direction that we're heading. So the question now is, what do we do this year? Do we pay the $16,661? Or do we just say, you know, this is what we came up with for a number based on the numbers that you gave us? Do we pay the $13,598?
Well,
What do we do?
I didn't know that is there a deadline? I didn't see a deadline for when we're supposed to pay that money. So we have some time to work with it.
We do. We do have a little bit. I would say we have to pay by the end of the year is what I would have to say.
So after listening to Dennis's presentation, I'll call it now, I will go about that. If we find that to work, then our decision is what do we pay them? If we decide to terminate the agreement and we send them 13,000 and change, we're done. If we decide to pay the whole thing, continue, then we're done. If we decide to pay the whole thing and not continue, we're done. But our decision is going to basically be how much do we pay and do we continue? And I agree that we need to, Dennis has to convince me how he's going to make this work to the benefit of Tufton Borough residents.
Yeah, and it's obvious, even with our jaundiced view of this whole deal, that there's $13,000 worth of benefit that's been derived by some residents.
Correct.
Right.
So,
Correct.
do we want to, I mean, essentially, if you eliminate paying that, you're putting the onus for paying that $13,000 back onto the residents.
It's going to affect the residents because they're going to have to pay 100% of the services that they get from Wolfboro Parks and Rec, whether it be skating, skiing, or any of the other Parks and Rec services that they do. And if Dennis wants to use that money and do any kind of reimbursement, that's fine. I just want to see a plan.
A workable plan.
Yeah, it needs to be weeded out.
I have to agree. And as has been brought out, we don't charge anyone a non-resident price for any of the programs that we do charge money for, We do allow Wolfboro to use our town beaches, or anyone basically. We're nice people. So, and as Chip has said, we don't want to become Wolfboro. Really, we don't. That's
I don't
just,
want the rats.
no.
No,
That's
but,
it, yeah, but,
but we've been working hand in hand with Wolfboro for generations.
yes.
And I hate to be, you know, the one that terminates one of these agreements without due cause. And the only cause that I can see is, in years past, except for this year, they haven't given us any substantiated numbers for that $16,000 that we've been paying them.
Right.
This year, we've got something. I don't know if how accurate these numbers are, whether to trust them or not, but that's not my place to judge what they give us.
Not at all, and I think when you had the person from the Parks and Rec committee review that's the number she came up with as well, so.
Which is, you know, frankly, it's not far off from $16,000. You're $2,500 off,
Right.
or $3,000 off actually, which isn't too far out of the ballpark. But we agreed to pay Wolfboro 1/16 of their, I think it's Parks and Rec's administrative costs, and that's where Wolfboro came up with that $16,000.
It's interesting that it hasn't changed for so many years,
Mm-hmm.
because their costs have changed.
Sure.
And so, for something to remain that consistent, just tells me that, I just don't get a good feeling about it. Let's put it that way.
All right.
Why wouldn't it change?
So I
They've
guess,
grown,
I
we've
guess
grown.
we're all kind of in agreement that we'll listen, hear the plan, but we want to plan before we make a decision.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. That's it.
I met with the Agricultural Commission, and they put together a budget, which we've seen. That was the sum total of my updating as a selectman. I will be meeting with the Conservation Commission at their monthly meeting. And beyond that, I did, again, put together some ideas for warrant articles, what we ought to do, and we've talked about it. Everything I had in my plan was basically what was adding to what was established last year for capital reserves and moving the paving up a little bit. And by moving that paving up a little bit, it seems like there's a possibility that we might be able to actually accomplish that and have some left to do road prep, which is good. I have been looking at it. What I will do is, I'm going to go again. I have town reports back to 1902. In the late 60s, there was one line item where we gave Wolfboro $500 from our Parks and Recreation Commission. But I haven't seen anything that said we ever voted to it. So I'm not sure. It may have been put in the budget. I gotta go back and look again, but I will dig deeper and deeper and deeper to see if I can find anything to help assuage your concerns about that.
Mid to late 80s,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. But I haven't found anything.
Well, I will start once again at the earliest time, and I'll work my way forward.
We didn't used to bother with these pesky warrant articles, they just made decisions. Yeah.
We're stuck with, now we're kind of a straddle of a barbed wire fence between being a town of Tuftonboro and a municipality. We're slowly working towards being a municipality, and it's not easy sometimes. All right, is there any other business that anyone would like to bring before the board? If that's the case, then I will certainly entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.